Hi, I'm Shira, and I have clinical depression, clinical anxiety, stress disorder, CPTSD, which is complex PTSD, and recently I have also been diagnosed with bipolar type 2, not to confuse with the bipolar type 1. And quite recently, my psychiatrist made me do an autism test, and I am 3 points away from being on the spectrum. Sorry, I'm laughing because it's so absurd that I'm living this reality. And it really feels like I'm collecting mental illnesses like Pokemons by this point, which is great. So by this point, my psychiatrist just calls me neurodivergent, which is like a nice way to say crazy. Because 100 years ago, someone as insane as me would be either locked up or given a lobotomy. I'm doing okay for these days. So, it's not too bad in these days as a mentally ill person. At this point, all you can do is laugh because what else is there to do? I have all these mental illnesses that I'm battling all day, every day. And yes, I didn't self-diagnose myself. There's multiple people that diagnosed me. I have been getting treatment for these things for the past, I would say 5-6 years. But regular treatments, maybe 3-4. And you might come from my YouTube or my Instagram or anywhere else and you might see me and think, she's crazy. No. You might see that I'm a happy person and you might see that, I'm traveling to different places in the world, that I have a dream career. I have a wonderful boyfriend. I have pets. I am happy. But online is not a reflection of reality, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I am very unstable as a person. I am so unstable that I cannot hold down a real job anymore, at least. I used to have normal jobs, but not anymore. I cannot physically be able to, especially with my bipolar type 2, I cannot predict how I'm gonna feel in the next couple of days. And a lot of people say, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get over it. And let me tell you, I have tried getting over it. Many times. I have even done treatments for it and it's still here. And it makes you realize that this is like a cancer, but a cancer of the mind. It's not something that just goes away. It takes a lot of work. That being said, it can never really truly go away. Just like a cancer, although you might feel fine, it might come back in a couple of years and it sucks. And I've accepted it by this point. But today I want to tell you about all of the treatments that I've had done and what things I have done to maintain a somewhat happy, somewhat livable way of living. Wow. Poetic, very normal way of living despite all of these mental illnesses. So, if you're in the same position as I am, wow, congrats! Welcome to the Mentally Ill Club. It feels so good to have you here with me today because let me tell you, there's nothing more horrible about mental illness than feeling alone, because it feels like you're always alone. It feels like you're the only person on the planet feeling horrible and terrible. It feels like everyone's living a happy, fulfilling life. It feels like everyone's going to events and have friends and have jobs and are getting married, having houses and going to Europe, and you're just stuck in your bed all day, not being able to get up. So it feels nice to know that there's other people also suffering, and it puts things into perspective for you that you can actually end up being somewhat okay at the end of this, even if you don't want to be here. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's start at the beginning of my mental illness journey. Okay, so I have a severe predisposition to depression and all of the other things that come with depression because of my family history. I have severe depression in my family. I have had people unalive themselves in my family, and I don't know about bipolar, but dude, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, people are just unwell. I was born in Ukraine and my entire family is Ukrainian. And that idea that Eastern European people are sad and depressed isn't wrong. It really is like that. Most people are very depressed, but are masking it with like alcoholism. So, I decided not to go down that route. Sorry, ancestors. I decided to go down the route of getting help. Let's just start when I was 17, and a lot of bad things happened with my family. At 18, I could no longer live with my family. I was basically kicked out. So I was living with my ex-boyfriend's family, which sucked and was horrible. And I had to really face life really early on and really quickly. I didn't have a breather. I just kind of had to move out. And then around 21, 22, my sister took her own life, unfortunately. So that made everything even worse than before. And that's when I was going through university, and everything just got bad. It got bad, but it's weird, okay? Depression and trauma and all of that is weird because a lot of people can go through things like that and be okay at the end of the day, right? And it all has to do with your childhood. And it's crazy that all of it goes back to your childhood, because if you had a happy childhood, most likely later on in life, you can deal with problems easier. But because I had a pretty rough childhood, had a lot of abuse throughout my childhood, and really horrible things happen. It was like the depression was dormant, basically. So when all of the horrible things happened when I was an adult, it woke up my depression and bipolar and anxiety and blah, 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 and everything just jumbled on top of me. And let's not forget the fact that I was unmedicated for the first couple of years after my sister took her own life. So I was unmedicated, and the reason why I was unmedicated is because a lot of people tell you that being medicated is bad. I had a friend who was arguably more depressed than me, but he took it upon himself to tell me that on Reddit, people were saying that, depression medication makes you lethargic. It makes you a zombie. It makes you horrible. It makes you like lack personality or creativity. And that scared me because as a creative person, as somebody who loves creating and living a colorful life, I didn't want to be that. And it really scared me into never doing medication. And also even my family were against medication for a long time. My family would tell me to exercise. They would tell me that to cure my depression, I need to exercise, which of course I would. Did that help? No. They're like, you just need some sunshine, the beach, and exercise. And, no matter how much beach, sunshine, and exercise I would get, I was still bad. So I kind of hit a wall a couple of years ago where I couldn't go outside, because the longer you stay untreated, the longer you stay unmedicated, the worse your depression gets. Which is a bummer. You'd think you would get better. You'd think your brain would get better at dealing with it. Actually, no, it actually is the opposite, which is really sad. But yeah, it's kind of weird, but I literally could not go outside. I had friends that I would go out with regularly to clubs and bars, and but there was a point in which I could no longer do that. I don't know what happened, but I all of a sudden thought that they all secretly hated me. I thought that they were all talking bad about me when I wasn't there. I was having delusions, paranoia, and I was scared to go outside. I was scared to interact with people. I would always ask the people around me, do you hate me? Did I do something? Did I offend you? And I constantly would read social cues as negative, and that's when I knew I couldn't live anymore. And then, I continued to be a shut-in. I was super isolated. I didn't talk to anybody. I, funnily enough, lost a lot of my really close friends from high school. I don't blame them for it. Well, I don't know. Maybe they were young. But after you go through something so severe, and traumatizing, people are just not there for you like you want them to be. A lot of people can't relate to you, and a lot of people are turned off by your negativity, and it sucks. But unfortunately, when you are mentally ill, especially when it comes on suddenly, people around you will stop wanting to be around you because you're a bummer. And, I get it, but also damn, you couldn't have just sent me a text. Anyway. So around that time, I actually ended up seeing a clip of Bill Hader, who is a comedian and an actor. Brilliant. And that clip changed my life.
My question is for Bill. So you've been really open about working with your anxiety on SNL and that type of thing. What would you suggest for someone who wants to go down a similar career path, but is managing those similar things?
It's hard. John can also attest how anxious I would get before things. I would get very, very scared.
And I have panic attack
Yes.
disorder as well. So
We both are very panicky.
no, I mean in all seriousness.
No, in all seriousness, we have like real, like, it's a thing you kind of just manage your whole life. I do TM, I do meditation, I honestly, it's like it's like all the kind of fun things, like, I don't drink anymore, and like all these things, you have to like really like to work, like exercise, not to like look better, but just to like not be a basket case. This is what happens when you hit 40.
Yeah. Sugar and caffeine. Before stand-up, I really can't touch those. And I take Wellbutrin, and I'll take the occasional Klonopin if I'm feeling very.
Yeah. I take Lexapro.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I was like, what? Bill Hader, an incredible actor, comedian, incredibly talented, is on Lexapro, and he's not a zombie? What? He's depressed and anxious, and he's struggling? Everything just was put into perspective for me, because my doctor, my GP, was asking me to get on medication, and I said no. And then I saw that clip of Bill Hader, and I went back and I said yes. All I can do is try it out, see how it goes. So she actually put me on Lexapro, which is what Bill Hader is on. And crazy, but almost immediately it changed my life. It helped me manage my anxiety disorder more than anything ever. It was like night and day. It was like waking up from a dream. I no longer felt like I got offended by things. I no longer felt horrible every day. I could get up, I could socialize, I could interact with people. It was really life-changing. And the people that keep telling you that you're gonna be a zombie, they're just not right. They're not correct. That's just not true. And maybe some medication out there's a lot of depression medications. Maybe they'll make you a zombie, but just change medications, okay? There's a lot out there. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to do a lot of trial and error to see what works for you. And luckily, wow, I know, Lexapro actually helped me. But since then, I have tried 2 other antidepressants, and they were god awful. So we'll get into that later. But before we go anywhere, if you get anything out of this video, stop demonizing medication, especially life-changing medication for people, okay? I would not be alive, really, I would not be alive today if it wasn't for Lexapro. That's just it. Now, the second thing I'm gonna tell you to do is go to therapy. I know, shocker, wow. I'm sure you've been told that before. I think everybody at some point in their life will need therapy. I think more, especially men, okay? Men get told to just push their feelings down, and I really think men need to be able to express their emotions, and therapy is great for that. Anyway, so I didn't want to go to therapy. Ugh, yeah, it's something so cringe about it, having to speak about your feelings to someone else. I grew up in a family where like sadness wasn't really discussed much. We didn't really talk about our emotions a lot. Like we did and we didn't. Like you kind of just like, again, pull up your bootstraps and get over it. And sadness is just a part of life. And, my parents would be like, oh, you're sad? I'll give you something to be sad about. Like that's the kind of parents I grew up around. So I kind of learned to push my trauma down. I did end up journaling a lot. I did journal a lot throughout my life, and that really helped like express my emotions. And I really thought that I had my emotions, in check and in control, but I didn't, okay? Because you are not as crazy as you think you are. Wait, is that the right word? Because you are more crazy than you think you are. I know, it's kind of crazy to think that you don't realize how insane you are, but you might be more insane than you think you are. Anyway, my doctor suggested going to a therapist. She suggested this lady, and I did not want to go because it's horrifying having to talk about your feelings with someone. You're in this waiting room waiting to go to a lady to talk about your trauma and your emotions, this stranger that knows nothing about you, and all of a sudden you're meeting them for the first time, and then you have to talk about your darkest, most painful moments, and they're like jotting it down the entire time, and it's daunting. It's like, what are they writing back there? This bitch is crazy. Yeah, it's not fun. But that being said, although it's not a fun experience, it's incredibly cathartic. Because you know what? You can talk to your friends, your spouses about your feelings, but they will never truly listen to you like a therapist does, because they will really listen to you and they will really help you. And sometimes all you need is just to talk about it. And after a few sessions, I felt like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Like, I swear to God, like, every time I would leave the therapist's office, I felt better afterwards. Like, I would feel like almost zen. It was so weird. It's also really nice to feel validated by another person that the things that happen to you are indeed insane and horrible, and it's okay for you to be depressed. It's okay for you to be upset, because a lot of people will tell you that you're not allowed to be upset. You should just get over it. So it's nice for somebody else to be like, no, actually you are depressed and it's okay. It's actually kind of sweet if you think about it. But so yeah, along with Lexapro and therapy, my life started to really turn around. I was in my last year of university and I was doing better. I was making better choices for myself. I was less impulsive because with bipolar, although I have bipolar 2, my impulsive and my crazy aren't as severe as somebody with bipolar 1. I still had manic episodes where I would do things that I regret. I did a lot of bad, horrible things that I regret, things that I would never do today. But with therapy and Lexapro, I got much better. But I truly believe therapy isn't something that you're supposed to be doing forever. I truly believe that if you're doing therapy, it's something you do for, 6 months to a year, depending how messed up you are. But they're supposed to give you tools to go through life. Because there was a point in my therapy where I would go, but we run out of things to talk about, okay? We are running out of things to talk about, and I didn't know what else to say. So I took all the tools that she gave me. She told me that I needed to do a lot of meditation. We would do meditation together. I started getting more hobbies, making more friends. So yeah, things started to turn around for me. At the time, I also started reading a lot of self-help books. I've always loved self-help books, along with therapy. Although people think self-help is really cringe, and it is. There's a lot of really bad self-help books. The books that changed my life are Martha Beck's Finding Your Own North Star and Robert Greene's books. All of them. I read every Robert Greene book 10,000 times. Listen, because of Martha Beck's book specifically, I was able to break up with my long-term boyfriend, which was amazing and really hard to do because he was not great. I should have broken up with him a long time ago, but because I was so trauma bonded to him, I couldn't, and that book really helped. And then I eventually met somebody overseas. I met my current partner, and I moved to America for him. And that's something I wanted to do my entire life, is to live in the United States, and I did. I did it because of therapy, Lexapro, and self-help books. Like, yeah, that's the combination, baby. But unfortunately, with such a big life change, things started to go downhill. I don't know why things started to go downhill, by the way. Very bizarre, but I think what happened was I felt stuck in my life once again, and I needed a change, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to change myself. I wanted to pursue content creation, but nothing was helping, but nothing was working, and I just felt stuck. I also felt like my bipolar type 2 really came about in a big way when I moved to the United States. I think part of that was stress. I was the poorest I have ever been in my life. I was going through immigration process, which was really stressful. I just think a lot of life made me depressed. So I decided to go on another medication, and I ended up going on Wellbutrin. And what followed was 3 months of an incredibly horrible manic episode. Oh God, I'm so sorry if I ever sent you any messages or did anything to you during those 3 months. Okay, I don't mean it. Okay, I was doing some dumb shit. I tried to end my life. I thought some guy in Walmart was gonna some random guy, right? I was in Walmart and I thought some random dude was gonna shoot up the Walmart. I literally thought that. And we raced to the car. I locked myself in the car. I was dodging away from this stranger. I got into our apartment. I barricaded the door, and I was holding a knife, on guard, because I thought this random guy from Walmart followed us home, and I thought he was gonna kill me. So yeah, Wellbutrin didn't work, and I went back on Lexapro, and things became better. And I started doing TikTok, and TikTok was doing really well. And because of especially Martha Beck's book, I was finding my North Star, which means I was pursuing my passions. I was doing everything I wanted to do, and I was doing good. And then another manic episode followed. I don't know where it came from. It was a mini manic episode, and I decided to move to Austin, Texas, and it was horrible. Another horrible 6 months of my life. And then I finally settled down and I got my life together. I think this was about a year ago. I finally got my life together. More than I ever have in my entire life. Like, I really got my life together. I started doing YouTube, but despite that, doesn't mean the depression completely went away. And I still felt like every other week I would be going into a deep depression. And it was completely normal for me. It was like a cycle, right? You know, for me, depression is cyclical because of bipolar 2. A week I would feel great, and another week I would feel horrible, depressed. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't eat. I couldn't see the point of living. And I had a prolonged hole in my chest and in my stomach. I feel like when you have depression, you kind of understand what I'm talking about. You feel like a void. I think a lot of people think that depression is sadness, but it's not sadness. It's the absence of all feeling. And with that, you have a really big hole. You feel like a void in your stomach and your chest, and that's when a lot of people take their own lives because of that void. I don't know, I can't explain it, but you know what I'm talking about if you ever had it. So I was recommended ketamine infusion therapy. Yeah, right? I was also surprised. I was like, huh? Ketamine? Like, I've heard people doing microdosing psychedelics and blah, 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 blah. I was like, ketamine? Okay, that's a little different. I didn't know you could legally do ketamine because I thought it was like a party drug. I've seen people at parties do ketamine and never looked fun. So I was like, what? That helps with your depression? That's so bizarre. But yeah, apparently there's like clinics in America that you go to a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and you do ketamine infusion therapy. And I was like, okay. So I found a clinic. I called the guy up. He luckily had a sliding scale because it's very expensive. Sliding scale basically means if you can't afford something, they work with your budget. And I was still poor at the time. So sliding scale worked for me, and I did 6 rounds of ketamine infusion therapy, and I was going every second week to this office, and it was weird. First session was really weird. Second session though, wow. I don't even remember it because it was like a year and a half, 2 years ago by this point, but yeah, it was incredible. It's not what you'd expect. It has been a while since I've done it, so it's hard for me to recollect what it's like, but it feels like you're flying through limbo. Heaven? Limbo? I don't know. But it feels like you're going into the deepest, darkest parts of your psyche, and you're flying through it, and it's constantly changing and evolving. And you're listening to music. You're meant to make a playlist without words, so I would make like a Studio Ghibli or Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings mashup of songs, very orchestral, very beautiful, and the music would dictate the visuals. And it's not like psychedelic visuals. They're visuals like life visuals. Like I will be traveling above like cities of people, and I felt like a spirit or a soul. God, I sound so hippie. But it works, because after the 3rd or 4th time where I did this, I felt alive again. I felt rejuvenated. It's like it hit a restart on my brain. It restarted my creativity. It restarted my life and my happiness. And I have never felt better since then. Okay. Ketamine, incredible. Since then, I have done it. So I did 6 initial sessions, and then I did like every 3 months, I would do a session here and there. Again, I only did infusions because they're very expensive. They're about $500 per infusion. I only did them every 3 months, every 6 months, whenever I really needed. I'm about to go in for another one in Australia. I'm actually, America is so forward with this. It's crazy. Australia is behind because I'm gonna be the first official patient of my psychiatrist to get an abdominal injection in my stomach. In America, you can do like an IV drip with a nurse. Here you need an anesthetist to do that, which is insane and like a crazy amount of money. So I'm just gonna be in a random doctor's office shooting up K. Another thing about ketamine that I would love to mention before I move on to the next thing is, I think my 8th session, I moved to Texas, right? So I went into a random Texas office, and they no longer had IV drips. And the nurse was like, "Are you okay with doing intramuscular injection?" I was like, "I don't even know what that is, but sure, I need my fix, baby." So they injected me the ketamine straight into my arm, and oh my God. Oh my God. I died. I died. I thought I died. And I felt like I died. It wasn't a good thing. It wasn't a nice thing. I've had ego death before. This wasn't just ego death. This was death. I thought I died. When you're on ketamine, it feels like your life never existed. It was never real. I don't know why ketamine makes you feel like that. It's not entirely a pleasant experience each and every time. It's a very weird, somewhat strange experience. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but the bad doesn't mean that it's bad. It's good because you know what? I was really thinking about ending all of it. You know what I mean? Ending. And I did that ketamine infusion, and I went into the K-hole, and I thought I died. And when I woke up, I remember I was clenching, because Carter was in the office with me, my partner. I was clenching his hand because I thought I died. And I didn't know if I was holding on to him, but I was crying and crying and crying. And I didn't know if I was alive still. And I didn't want to die anymore. Because I died. I literally died. But I didn't want to die anymore. And I was so relieved to be alive. And I've never felt like that before. I've never been relieved to be alive. It's such a weird thing because for years and years I thought I didn't want any of this. I didn't want to be alive. I don't want to be here. And I still have those thoughts all the time. But let me tell you, after that experience, it feels like I'm okay with being here for a little longer. Yeah. Ketamine's great. Who knew? Again, don't let the fear-mongering, my parents, my God, they think that they say it in Russian, I forget what the word is, but in English, but I guess you could say it's over-medicating. They think that because I'm doing ketamine, I'm doing something bad. My dad sent me an article about a guy who's addicted to ketamine. The ketamine on the street, okay, is different to the ketamine in the office. They are two different ketamines. I know it's the same name, completely different drug. Not completely different. Obviously, it's in the same group. The ketamine you're getting on the street is not the ketamine that you're gonna get in the office. That good, okay? Never, ever go and get street drugs. Please, for the love of God. Thank you. Anyway, let's move on to the last thing that I'm doing. And the last thing that I'm doing is TMS. God, I need to Google what it stands for. Transcranial magnetic stimulation. Huh? Yeah, I know. What? Again, my depression is still there, okay? It will be there for the rest of my life, but I am trying to live the best life that I physically can, and therefore I'm going to continue doing any treatment that I physically can to live the best life that I can. So I started TMS. I did my 32nd session today. I go to this office every single day except for the weekends. At 9 a.m. I'm at that office, and it's a big magnet thing, and it's going and it doesn't hurt. It's like a little light tap, like for about 20 minutes. I am sitting there every day for 35 days. I'm sitting there, and it's buzzing and tapping on my brain, and it's meant to stimulate the area that depression is in. According to my psychiatrist, about half of the people feel better. So it's a 50% chance if it's gonna work. Do I think it's working? I don't know. For me personally, I have been on Reddit, on the TMS subreddit, reading other people's experiences, and they've said that sometimes it doesn't work until the last session. Sometimes it makes you feel better 4 weeks after. It's not a long-term thing. It does wear off, but to be fair, listen, about a week or two since I've started doing it, I actually changed my background. If you watch my YouTube, you know I usually have like a plain white background, and all of a sudden, since doing TMS, I started getting more creative. So I am gonna say that it helped in some departments. Doesn't mean the depression's gone away. Again, don't mistake me saying that I've done all these treatments and it's gone away and I'm cured, because there's no cure to this. There is no cure. And yeah, it sucks, and I do have to get constant treatment. I am on medication. I'm still on Lexapro, 40 milligrams, the highest amount. I'm still doing ketamine infusions, probably bi-yearly, 2 times a year, probably maybe 3 times a year I'm doing them. If not, I'm gonna go on some mood stabilizers as well, just to make sure that the quality of my life is not jeopardized by this mental illness, okay? And yeah, let me tell you, getting depression treatment isn't cheap. Yeah, listen, if you're in the same boat as me or even poorer, I completely understand that you might be saying to me, I cannot afford to get treatment. I cannot afford to get formally diagnosed. And I understand that, but I need you to find the money. And it sounds mean, but please do not self-diagnose yourself. I have known people who have self-diagnosed themselves autistic, borderline, bipolar. I have met people who are clearly not any of those things. Listen, I'm not a psychiatrist and I don't know, but I've been around crazy people, and you're trying to tell me that you're crazy? You're not. And it's frustrating having to explain to people that just because they saw a bunch of TikToks about their mental illness and some of the things ring true doesn't mean that you have it, okay? It's a really strict and stringent criteria that you have to meet. And I think sometimes people want to have a name for something, right? Because they feel ostracized and they feel weird and they feel like they don't fit in with society and they want to have a word for it. It's very human and I completely understand. That's why don't self-diagnose yourself, okay? Go and see a therapist, a psychiatrist, and I know it's money, but please save up. I beg you that there's help out there. Again, I know that ketamine infusions are expensive and it sucks, but if you're in the US, there are sliding scales. Beg them, talk to them. My first ketamine person, my psychologist in the clinic, was super understanding of my living situation, how much money I make. He wants to help people. People in this profession get into this profession because they want to help people. Most of them, right? Obviously, there's bad therapists and bad psychiatrists, but most of the people in this profession are also suffering, okay? They have an interest in psychology or any of that is because they're also on the spectrum. It's because they also have depression. Every single person that I met that opened ketamine clinics did ketamine and it changed their life. They were wanting to die and then they did ketamine and changed their life and they wanted to help other people. So they opened their own clinics. It's amazing. I mean, there are people out there that want to help you. There are people out there that will care, and maybe your family doesn't. And I've had to fight to tell my family how I feel. I've had to fight to tell them that I am not well. And it sucks to not be heard. It sucks to be told that you shouldn't be on medication. It sucks to be told that you should exercise. Oh, get over it. But there's light at the end of that tunnel. And that light is you. Because the only person that can do something about this is you. Nobody's gonna come. No magic fairy is gonna wave their wand and help you get out of bed and get your life together. It's gonna have to be you, boo, okay? It's this body. You came into this world with one body, your body, and it's there for you. This is who is there for you, okay? Give your body a big hug because it loves you. Every single cell in your body is fighting to stay alive. Your eyelashes are wiping away your tears. Your hair warms you and protects you on your head, unless you're bald, I'm sorry. Your body is crafted to protect you. Your heart is beating. Just because you're sad, your heart is not going to stop beating, okay? Your lungs, they're there. Every single cell in your body is fighting for you to stay alive and be happy. It wants you to be happy. If you're going to fight for anyone, it's going to be for you and your dreams and your hopes, because we need you. Some people listening are going to be amazing artists, entrepreneurs. People listening are going to help other people with depression, other people who are suffering, okay? Remember, last thing before I go, the more you have suffered, the more interesting you are. Sounds insane, but let me tell you, I have met some boring people in my life, and usually those boring people are the ones who have had a perfect life, a perfect childhood. Everything worked out for them. They're Nepo babies. Everything is good. They have no personality. They have nothing to add to this world. They have never and never will change the world, okay? You are sad and you are miserable and you are worthy because you are an artist, baby. You're creative. You're amazing. You're gonna change the world and you're gonna help other people. And I love you, okay? I appreciate you and I'm proud of you for going on this crazy journey to help yourself out with your mental illness. Or if you're doing it to somebody that you also love, if you're helping other people and you're listening to this because you want to help other people, I get it. Anyway, I love you. Make sure to follow and subscribe and whatever. Follow my main channel where I do essays and shit.